The first tap of a conductor's wand. The first rivet in a mile-high tower. The master link at the genesis of the never-ending chain. The moment a single empty canvas meets a singular master stroke. There is no one thing. Because now, there are many. Because soon, there will be more. Because one is ever the beginning. Like the first link in an infinite chain, or the first rivet in the tallest skyscraper. The master stroke is found in the masterpiece. What will you begin?
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
Welcome to the World Blockchain Roundtable, the longest running DAO podcast in all the world. DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. We are on week number 256 or episode number 256. And joining me is Zach Attack Augustine. Good morning.
Hola. Buenos dias.
And he's part of the Legacy Right, and his counterpart to the Legacy Right, not that he's to the left, is
to the left.
He is to the left.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Hey, what's going on?
Well, we got a good one today. This is Zach's theme that got voted in. Way to go, Zach! And you're going to take us on down the lane or road where I guess philosophy and blockchain merge.
Yeah, they kind of do, because our human brains, we think that everything can be determined, like pretty simple, like everything is deterministic, everything is like it's linear shaped, like point A to leads to point B no matter what. But it's not the case. Like you have to divert a little bit in order to find where you're going. Like you got to see the scenery rather than just go straight up 75 to Detroit. And who wants to take 75 up to Detroit when you can get on you can actually get on the back roads and go enjoy the scenery of Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan.
Or just fly over it.
Or you could fly over it.
It's a view from above, right?
Yeah.
Well, this week on World Blockchain Roundtable is application of Thomist-Aristolian thought in blockchain. Did I pronounce that right?
Aristotelian.
Aristotelian.
Aristotelian. So it's essentially Aristotle, ancient Greek philosopher, and what Thomas Aquinas, which was 13th century, something like that.
14th century, about 13th, 14th century.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at those philosophical thoughts, arguments, and plug them into blockchain today. But before we do that, a couple of quick items of business, if you don't mind. Last week's show was mining blockchain versus tokens available on launch day. Kind of dived into the regulation scenario for the SEC in the US. Should tokens or should the coins be available on the first day, or should they be mined to support and sustain the network? And that was good. Each host last week received 80 lot layer ownership tokens for World Blockchain Roundtable. Each contributor received 100. And last week's theme was suggested by myself. I am Priam. I received an extra 100 lot.
Hey.
Cha-ching. And but this week is Zach's theme that got voted in. So we will see how much lot he earns from this week. And another item of business, if you don't mind, before we jump into today's thing, is we're at that decision point to submit your themes that you want the panelists here on the World Blockchain Roundtable to talk about for the month of May. And let me bring this up, add this to the stage. So we're looking for May's theme suggestions. We already got a few. I plugged in some. I thought there's some. I like this one idea. Chat questions only from blockchain to current events. So panelists will rake in some money, some lot, I should say. And we just, maybe they want to talk about blockchain or they want to talk about current events and they want to ask questions to the panelists. That'd be fun.
Maybe people just want to talk about bananas.
Yeah, it's possible. That's possible. We could deep dive into banana harvesting, growing, logistics. What kind of
rather than wanting to talk about like forks in the blockchain, maybe we just talk about forks, like actual forks.
Yeah,
silverware.
Yeah, there you go. Because the other theme suggested is when to fork a blockchain. Another theme is crypto blockchain dead. Dun, dun, dun. How about this one?
Generations.
What role did Epstein play in Bitcoin's development and adoption?
I'm thinking probably a lot.
Brock Pierce comes to mind. Decentralized AI, blockchain as a trusted layer for models, data, and compute. We also have AI agents on blockchain, the rise of autonomous on-chain economies. AI agents with blockchain. Benefits of merging AI and blockchain. And how about this one? This should follow this week's show. Open source benevolent AI dictator with blockchain. So we just hand over the governance of our country to an AI who has been coded, and we can see the code as a benevolent dictator doing decisions only for what's best for humanity. And it's also on blockchain, so we can see that transparency.
Haven't we technically already done that? Because they're using AI to enforce laws and regulations now, and people are going to prison or people going to jail for wrongful identification.
No, we're far about that. We still have humans that are telling the AI what to do. This would be a little bit different. This would be AI governing the humans, but we would be able to do the code, and we'd be able to control the on-off switch. That's the idea. Programming a benevolent AI dictator. Can it be done?
That would actually have to impose that human beings need to relinquish some of their pride.
What were you going to say, Andrew?
So here comes the matter.
Matter. Watching and listening. Every time the word matter comes up, because that's the token for Den.Social, I'm supposed to drink.
I'll tell you about drinking on the job.
Yeah. Does it matter?
I think it matters.
That's moonshine, by the way. No, kidding. It's water. Water.
Well, next time
It's
I'm up in
vodka.
Knoxville, I'll be sure to get you some, send it to you.
Yeah. Yeah, please do. All right. Well, that is the main themes that have been suggested so far. I suggest everyone get in their themes and ideas, what you would like us to talk about. I don't know. I might vote for this one, chat questions.
I like that one, actually.
Or I might vote for this one, open source benevolent AI dictator with blockchain to keep the AI benevolent dictator honest.
We could vote for the chat questions, but then someone can ask the open source.
There you go. All right. So I think it's time to dive into this one. Are you ready, gentlemen?
I thought it was time to do it, but okay.
Of the day that we need to bring up before we jump into this topic. Any other business? No? Okay.
No.
Well,
not that I'm aware of.
I had kind of a brief explanation of this, and it's that I asked Grok to kind of throw up at me for us. It's applying, say Thomas Aquinas and Aristotle's way of thinking as the Greek philosopher, using that Christian theology and how to illuminate, critique, and guide us to improve our blockchain systems, basically, using metaphysics, ethics, and natural law, politics, and economies, and decentralization, and applying those. Now, what were you going to say, Zach?
Well, I mean, I guess to say it simply put, like to bring in the metaphysical into the physical realm of blockchain, like human beings are rational, purposeful creatures. Like we do everything with some type of purpose, even if it doesn't reflect what you would perceive not so purposeful, like if it's a bad purpose, but we always do some. We're creatures of habit. So like when it comes to human action, going basics into economics, and where blockchain really thrives in because of the utility factor, the monetary aspect, the alternating currency. It's like with human action comes the intent. So we are intentional in the choices that we make, and through those choices is how we direct towards a perception of good. So if we want to create something, then we're going to intentively decide of what we want to create. I mean, do I want to say I want to make this coffee cup? My intent is to make this coffee cup and to make it as beautiful as the Guatemalan that actually made this. Actually, I got this from Guatemala, or maybe it was El Salvador. I forget. But
you didn't get it from Etsy?
No, I got it. My dad got it from I think it was El Salvadorian actually. So they actually made it in their little village. But the direct would be to build to come up with the design and how to make it to the parameters of beauty. So your intent is to produce, and so through that production, your intent is how do I distribute it. So in essence, you're combining the human activeness of intent through the direction of your perceived good by promoting a teleological aspect in your own self within life in general. You're creating a mechanism of fulfilling a purpose. The purpose is I want to draw beauty from what I see in life and what my mind perceives, and I want to make it into something like this cup, right? So it's rooted in it's rooted in a final cause of intent through a means to an end of your purpose. And so rooted in that natural, now combining that in the natural law, you're ordering in a natural flow of things. You're ordering towards the good, or in essence to God. So
back up, define natural law real quick.
Andrew, would you like to define natural law?
Natural law.
You have a better law.
Natural law or negative law is the law of the universe, gravity, consequence, our anticipation, and try to, qualifications of ethics. It's universal law of the universe. And positive law is man's attempt to regulate man.
Yeah, that's like in other words, when it comes to natural.
Man's attempt to regulate man based off of natural laws, and natural laws supposedly are also supposed to include rights, or that we're born free. This was some of the ideas that were,
came out of like
early
John Locke.
Yeah, John Locke and these kinds of things, which I guess was a subset of the idea or concept of natural law. Would that be accurate?
Yeah. And effectively, when it comes to like Thomistic thought, when it comes to the order of natural law, basically understanding the chaos of nature that is ordered within that chaos, effectively, is the understanding that through creation there's an interdependence, not necessarily a dependence or an independence, but an interdependence between the relationship between you and nature, or you and creation, you and creator, whatever that may be, whatever you want to call it what you will. It's God. But you're relational in your hierarchical pursuit towards the purpose in how we navigate this world effectively. How do we intend ourselves to live within this world? You can either be a steward of the good, or you can be a tyrant of the good. So you kind of corrupt that good. And we all have a tendency to corrupt the good, because coming from a Christian theological standpoint and being a Catholic myself, original sin. And that is the fall from grace. That's the fall. The man is destined through his free will, through his own will, to reject God's will for their own will. And so that's where you get in the corruption. That's where you get man dictating man through the means of natural law, but then divorcing from what is natural for what is positive or what is institutional.
Satoshi Sean has joined us.
We have a show.
Thanks, Sean.
Hey,
welcome. You're everybody's friend.
I couldn't miss this one. I love the Argonians. Thirsty Argonians are the best.
Okay.
Welcome, Sean.
Welcome, Sean.
Well, Sean, we always have, I'm sure we're probably going to play this a lot today. Sean's Morality Minute, because we're talking about philosophy and blockchain, basically.
Well, yeah, and that's the interesting concept, because like markets, as real as markets are, because it's people acting, markets in themselves are just an abstraction for us on how we coordinate, for how we act, how we intentively act in producing, exchanging, and coordinating with each other individually, tribally, or community, and then even on a larger, grander scale. So like to acknowledge that markets are the abstraction, but then concrete in the way that we act within those markets is how we order ourselves within a purposeful living within life. So,
Right.
and I'm reading from notes, so it's all good, everybody.
Should we jump into a first question?
Sure.
Since we set the stage here for this week's theme. All right.
Well, hey, real quick, while Zach was just talking about, I know we don't have enough time, but I was listening to Stefan Molyneux earlier when I was walking around the neighborhood before I came here, and he was talking. I had a copy of his book, The Handbook of Human Ownership, a manual for new tax farmers, and it really goes into all this, the history of this. I know it sounds kind of a dark video, but it's very informative, very satirical, very honest.
Yeah.
Who owns you, Andrew?
Well, I mean, technically nobody.
Define you.
Well, define nobody. What does nobody mean?
Absence of
Esper. Yeah.
We are all owned as images and likeness of God. Imago Dei.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. First question. Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas, or should I say St. Thomas Aquinas, stressed the importance of the common good and subsidiary handling matters at the most local level possible. So, but blockchain is decentralized. So question, or blockchain typically is decentralized. Does blockchain's decentralization truly service the common good, or does it sometimes foster fragmentation and new forms of vice like greed or anonymity, enabled justice? Anonymity. Can you speak to me?
I think it. Oh, go ahead, William.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think you could probably find greed in just about anywhere or everything.
Yeah.
Is the lust and desire to acquire more of such a thing. If we were conducting, I don't know, bottle caps as our currency or seashells, there would be those that would scheme to get more and more seashells or bottle caps or whatever. So greed's just a human frailty. And then justice is supposed to be blind, right? And the idea that way it's fair and equitable in how decisions are determined between two parties that are fighting with one another, or shall we say one party is calling the other, our actions of the other unjust. So if blockchain is there to handle that, it's transparent, then it's supposedly handling justice in a transparent way. It kind of works against the idea here, I think, in some ways, because if blockchain is decentralized, but locally decentralized, maybe, but decentralized from a global perspective, and we're plugging in, local principles, I think it's in conflict a little bit.
I think this is pretty interesting. I agree with what you said, William. It's like the blockchain is like a perfect mirror that just shows you more. So if like you said, it's just human frailty. It's not the technology, but the decentralization, I don't think is part. I think it still brings it all together. It's just a different attribute. If you look, 1,000 years ago, you wanted to destroy or have a war, you had a bunch of people go over there, and those people fought your people. Now, like, nobody's even has to go into a country, and it's literally, it's like 3 dudes can go to war with another country, just pushing some buttons, flying some drones, using technology. So the result is the same, even though it's completely decentralized. No one's even in that country. No one's even close. Dude, people could not be on that continent. and we could just use a different technology to do the same thing. So I think it's just a technology. The decentralization, I don't think affects the end result. I think it's just a new way to do it.
Right.
I think.
Well,
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah.
I think first of all, we're not in the day of Charles the Fat anymore, so it's not something we can just win in an instant. But even with modern technology, but as for what just an old joke from the World Blockchain Roundtable. As for what William was talking about earlier, I want to push back a little bit. Lysander Spooner's got an entire work on this called "A Natural Law, the Science of Justice." It's interesting. Listen, I guess I make a bunch of references today, but really kind of break that down and how people think, feel, and act, and that can help you, discern what the natural law and what justice could be derived from the consequence of whatever the dispute is.
On a purely economical scale, if we actually just stick to markets, the theory behind what blockchain can do is, this is just theoretical, because obviously we've seen blockchain be misused. We've seen it. We see it now. We've seen Bitcoin be hijacked. Status regimes have taken over and kind of kidnapped it, held it hostage, right?
Or rug pulls by individuals.
Yeah, exactly.
They're trying to do that now. Actually, I saw on X yesterday. They're talking about how they're going to try to manipulate quantum computing to mess with the original Bitcoin from Satoshi Nakamoto and others. So that's just their way of pushing the limits, edging towards filtering and censorship.
Well, one thing about markets, and this ties into Aquinas and Aristotle, of course, and what we've already kind of attributed to articulating what markets are. They're natural. They're natural abstractions. They're natural, but they're abstract in certain cases. But they're in need of justice. So anything needs justice, and without and justice can't really exist without mercy. In the normal purview of things, outside of our humanity that wants to corrupt everything and be greedful, prideful jackasses. So, like, one concept that Aquinas coined, and remember, this was before there was ever really a school of economics, so that it was a thing, but the idea of just price. And that is where prices reflect a common estimation, so that you don't have like guilds and other proprietary factors hold a full-on monopoly and overcharge people. So what I see with blockchain technology and the use of forking it as well, especially with how Bitcoin Cash forked from Bitcoin back in 2017 to the full view of what it's supposed to be, which is P2P, peer-to-peer exchange, is that transparency with the use of blockchain in acknowledging and knowing transaction between peoples in their exchanges, in their transaction, and trying to actually like create some sort of balance towards the discovery of value. Because remember, Andrew, value, since we're all Miesians here, value is subjective to the beholder of human action. So my question to you, though, to go off of this question, actually, is how does blockchain address a peer-to-peer exchange still evolving informational or power asymmetries? I'm going to add that question into this question.
Well, first of all, blockchain is certainly, or should be, neutral. And the idea, the original concept was that it would be open source code that you could view and testify with others that the blocks are not manipulated. They're not they can't be edited. So it makes it transparent if you want a transparent blockchain. And that allows for the ability to transact without a third party in between. So plugging that into your question, Zach, I think you have to think of it more along the lines that blockchain is just a tool. And it depends on how that tool is being used. Is it being used for greed and to acquire, unjustly, someone else's wealth or property? Or is it a fair, way to transact that two parties agree to without a third party, let's say a banking system or a government getting in between two parties that want to freely transact? So can it be for the common good? Absolutely. Can it inspire? I shouldn't say not inspire. Can it entice others to use for, nefarious purposes? Absolutely. Rug pulls and theft and, the new shiny thing to try to draw people into a new scam or something like that. So blockchain is certainly neutral. And because it's decentralized, if we plugged in a blockchain that was where it was completely decentralized around the globe, but it was only used locally in a small village, in the Alps somewhere or something like that, that is perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable to the individuals that are using that blockchain. They really don't care that the blocks are, handling or managing the blockchain, from nodes and miners or whatever you have from, wherever, or servers around the world. It's really up to the individuals that are utilizing it if they want it to be decentralized globally or decentralized within their community. And so I guess, Zach, to your point, it really goes back to being a neutral tool, a neutral, technology that can be used for good.
I think, because it's open source, that really relaxes the boundaries. It makes, when there is a fork like we had with Bitcoin Cash ABC, then you enter into a state of persistence where if it doesn't consistently update and consistently try to prove itself over and over again, it's going to fail.
Sean, what do you think?
So I already answered the question, but I was thinking about failing. I just looked up BSV. It's not doing well.
What's its price?
$15 and it's up.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, I watched this stream that Rice did, about the Bitcoin Ben scandal thing. And people that just like, yeah, man, BSV in the chat. I'm like, I haven't heard about the BSV Bitcoin Cash war in forever. So I wanted to look it up, and it's Bitcoin Cash definitely came out on top. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ABC was kind of a three-ring circus. It's a good thing that they did fork again, because I think that would have been the death knell if they didn't make that fork.
Yeah. Plugs into natural law. But, markets, Zach, that's another thing. Markets are corruptible. Markets are manipulated. Mm-hmm. Markets are not free in some cases, most cases. Markets are gated for entrance or exit. And while they may be free inside the market, they still may be gated to enter or exit.
I think if you allow control, then there is corruption. You could say it's gated or what, but any kind of control, if it's not free, then it's corruptible, and because we corrupt stuff. We're terrible.
Mm-hmm.
We're terrible. We have to have to live a certain way, or we'll mess it up. That's one thing about being like you have to agree, William, being an anarchist. It's like you can't be, because everyone else sucks. It's like you just can't trust everyone to work together, or just to want, it's not even wanting the best for other people. It's just wanting to leave other people alone. It's that which I mean, it's like the basis for capitalism, the basis for, that makes us want to do more, but we want more. And we have to, that's probably one of the things that, Thermopolis says here, is that you got to have that, there has to be a core, of morality, that you're going to live a certain way, because if not, then the more evil part of our nature will take over.
Well, that's where subsidiarity comes into question, because subsidiary is the idea of letting local matters dictate local matters. Like, don't
local
let
organizations
right. rather than outsourcing everything, because when we outsource everything, we do see the corruption. Because I'll piss off a lot of libertarians on this one, but markets aren't free. Like, when it comes down to it, like, there's no such thing as a free market. There's such thing as human action being free within the manner of how we act and interact within the parameter of markets, but we're all corrupted human beings. We all, in essence, like, going to Christian theology, we all sin. So, like, we're always going to have this narcissistic fashion of might meets right, and that my way is better than yours, and that gets us greedy. We're prideful human beings that want to protect and self-preserve ourselves. So it's survival of the fittest, no matter what. And it's the same thing with markets. So I
gotta disagree with you a little bit there. Markets can be free, and there are free markets. What gets introduced into that market is the means of exchange. If we're talking about fiat being introduced, is that means of exchange. Well, then by definition, the market is no longer free, because the currency is corrupted, right?
It takes away from the aspect of what markets are. It's just people.
Right. But if it's, let's say, maybe I'm wrong to pointing this out, but let's just say the Amish, I'm going to trade, the standard barter or exchange is, I don't know, 1 gallon of raw milk for 12 eggs. And that's the standard. That's been the standard for, I don't know, 3 centuries. That's essentially a free market. It's a bartered system. There is no dollars that's being exchanged between the two parties. It's 1 gallon of raw milk for 12 eggs. And
isn't that, William, isn't that a form of centralization meant to make
part of that subsidiarity that Zach mentions? It's a local organization, and maybe the Amish world is that central organization that somewhere along the line 300 years ago they have established a price, and nobody questions it, that 1 gallon of raw milk equals 12 eggs, period. But that makes it a free market, even though maybe a price point has been established 300 years ago.
But that can change too.
Goes to the point of just price.
Or something that kills off a lot of chickens, so then eggs are more rare for a year or two. So I think it goes back to, religion in a way, that there used to be a centralized. There still is. It's money, and it's God's money, which is like gold, silver. That's it. Because you have like basically 20 markets, 100 markets. It's a gallon of milk equals 12 eggs. Well, what does 12 eggs equal? Well, 12 eggs equals 3 loaves of bread. What is 3 loaves of bread? You have to go round and round, and you can get to something, and then you're like, 1.2 ounces of silver. Okay, there is like in the end there has to be like this unifying money, and it's true when you replace it with something that's totally controlled by a small group of people like fiat. It's very easy and it's very deceptive and kind of, what's the word? I'm trying to think of a nice word, bigger word, not nice word, bigger word. It's deceptively evil because you don't see it. The banking and all that. It's all it's easier. It's just easier to use silver and gold and not have a small group of people control it.
True. But gold can turn into the seashell problem too, because a large mine or deposit is found, and now almost an unlimited supply of gold that is all
let's compare the historical gold, silver versus fiat. Let's see who wins.
No kidding, right?
Bad track record.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's called betting against the government.
Even the seashells. I mean, you compare that to if there's nothing fiat, it's like literally the worst thing.
Right.
It's like what kind of pie is shit pie, rhubarb. It's like I don't like rhubarb. Well, you have shit. Okay, I'll take the rhubarb. It's no matter how bad anything is throughout history, the fiat. I think if you look at just the experiment of money, centralizing or making one means of valuing everything, I'd say fiat is like the worst. I mean, is that fair to say? Do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. Should we move on to the next one?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Question: what ethical guardrails from natural law should shape tokenomics, governance, or the use of blockchain in society? Who wants to go first? I'll go last. Ethical guardrails.
I honestly think one ethical guardrail could be smart contracts, and I have a note here like smart contracts excel as an objective, verifiable condition because we know it. It's there. It's linked to the blockchain, and the only difference is how do we utilize a smart contract system within the blockchain, and say also with DAOs with the ambiguous human reality that we're all assholes. That's the question. So I'll move on to Andrew.
I mean, ethical guardrails, huh? I suppose it's really about the qualification management behind the team, and what if they're realistically trying to grow and be successful, they're going to have middle managers that are have an aversion to corruption, and they're going to have a really kind of fixed morality about what they're doing. I know I'm not trying to like walk around the question. I'm just trying to think of a good way to answer it. And otherwise, you're going to be strip mining the project because they'll come up with all these relative excuses, and basically the project's doomed to fail.
Yeah.
And we all know what happens with them strip mines. Have you seen
what happened in the Soviet Union?
I think Zach's right about that. The smart contracts along with the DAO, because we are assholes, but we are not assholes in front of each other. So that's
true.
one of the good things about a DAO. Everyone's an asshole behind the scenes, and they don't.
I got a keyboard. You don't have to see me.
So that I think is the it's a way of using kind of one of our weaknesses against ourselves.
Yeah.
Or at least admitting we have it and then using it for good. Manipulating ourselves a little bit, to do the right thing. Is by putting, which is It's based. I mean, it comes down to like one of the basic things of blockchain is just transparency. The more transparent we have to be with each other, the better we are to each other.
Right. If I was going to interject here, I think, well, first of all, the tokenomics might be the supply. What's the total supply? Is the total supply going to grow? Has it been locked? The governance. Is there a DAO in place? Who are the team managers, team leaders? Is there a large shareholder who has more votes? And so it's really not decentralized in its governance or decentralized in how the core team or the dev team is being managed. There's a lot of questions that go in there. And so the ethical guardrails and, from natural law would kind of, if someone was going to say, all right, I'm only going to invest in ethical, cryptocurrencies, for example. Well, they're going to look at the tokenomics, they're going to look at the governance, and they're going to look at what role what problem does it solve for society. And ethical guardrails might mean, is it open source so we can all see the code? Should we fork it? Should we fork this blockchain because the principals or the dev team are working, in an unethical manner? These kinds of questions, I guess, is where the ethical guardrails come into play. But it means that everyone that's diving into this project or investing or using it, that the concept here is natural law should shape it. It should be applied here so that it becomes an ethical and moral project to invest in, an ethical and moral project that is solving a problem ethically, morally. And I guess that's kind of what I would jump in here and say, that going back to the whole theme of this episode, or the theme today is allowing natural law to become the power within using blockchain and being the focus.
I think yeah, go ahead. We started talking at the time.
Sorry, I'd say it's embracing natural law. Blockchain is
right.
Yeah, and I think the way that we can shape it through like tokenization, I think one of our biggest problems right now is usury. The orchestration of relinquishing money for compound interest. I mean, that's where we're getting into an issue here. And I think with blockchain and the way that you can use it to help contract between two parties more easily, more transparent, and the way that you can tokenize the money system of that blockchain can allow for, I think it allows for a semblance of more accountability for individuals and groups to pretty much like stop us from preying on each other through monetary means effectively. So
right. And when you introduce a third party into a transaction, who knows what's going to happen with that? Is a third party trust? Yeah. Can you trust that third party? Is this third party welcomed in this transaction? In many cases, it's not. So
you don't even know our goals. Like when it's peer to peer, our goals are very clear. I want this, you want that. A third party comes in like, why are you even here? Oh, I want to facilitate this. I want a piece of this. It's unless it's once again like some kind of religion or obsession. It's like, oh, I just want people to buy llamas. So any kind of llama sales, I want to be part of and help you do. And that, unless there's some kind of motive that is clear, like you said, you don't know.
Right. I remember in 2017 talking to devs and asking, the perfect blockchain to me, or perfect cryptocurrency to me, is a feeless blockchain that is still mineable. And it's like, well, that's impossible because you have to reward the miner. And one of the rewards for the miner is not just the creation of a new block and the rewards for the creation of the new block, but rewards from the transaction fees. And blockchain is been created in such a manner, this was 2017, that you couldn't do a transaction without a fee. And I thought, man, we need a feeless, mineable blockchain, and versus racing to the bottom to the lowest fee. And it was kind of odd. Maybe I was just talking to the wrong devs at the time, but I often thought of the idea of cash. When you transacted in cash, the third party is certainly the issue of that cash or that currency, right? If you're in the US and it's in dollars, that's the third party. But if I meet somebody on the street or in an alleyway and say, hey, here's $10, yeah, I'll take one of your cups of coffee or something, a street vendor, that was a, semi-private conversation, semi-private transaction. And there really wasn't a third party because the government wasn't involved. Now the government gets involved in, well, now there's taxation for the coffee vendor and why aren't you charging sales tax and all of these things. That taxation becomes the third party. And blockchain was supposed to eliminate all third parties, and
see, all that was done under a guise of, why are you involved in this transaction? Oh, I want to make sure it's not poison that he's selling you. I want to make sure this guy's giving you real coffee beans and not ground shit. I want to make sure that, you know what I mean? It was so much, it's about protection. And then it's like, oh, even like you're still paying $10. So it's great for you. You're going to accept it. And then the other guy's like, well, I'm going to have to pay this guy $1, so I'm going to charge you $11 now.
Right.
So that's why it worked, but it was BS because, they don't care. They're not obviously, look at all the fraud out there. Like, not like the things that are set up that we pay for with this, third party money that they've been taking. They're not protecting anything.
Right. That's why I got excited for DAGs for a while, because you could have a feeless transaction, and I thought, wow, that's really good, And I remember a long time ago, before blockchain, someone told me that if you could transact or sell something, for a penny, and do so many of them with no transaction fees, you could actually make a lot of money.
It used to be if Bitcoin Core way back in the day, if you held your coins on in the wallet for a while, you could send it without a transaction.
Yeah,
that's why Andrew was a big.
That's why I got my copy of the Star Wars Christmas special.
Well, that's why Andrew was a big proponent and one of the first investors in Den.Social.
Yes, exactly.
Good old Den.
You know what I did?
How much money does he put in?
It's a great idea in a different world, or in the future world, maybe it is. And I think that's where we should have been going, like the libertarian idea and all. Like, that's a perfect. Dencoin is a perfect example of an enormous industry, a complex industry. It's in healthcare, for God's sake. They're like, hey man, we can make this better, cheaper. And it was a great idea, It was nice.
Yeah. It was stretched way too thin. It should have been more concentrated to one specific market.
Well, just judging by how the dental market is, and like, I don't know about you, like around it all depends on where you go to your dentist. So like, some dentists they'll accept like out of network insurance. Some dentists will only accept in network, period. They'll only have a network of insurance companies they'll deal with. So like the dentist that I go to, if you're not part of the insurance like cabal, I guess, I don't know what else to call it, within their internal framework, then you're pretty much shit out of luck, and you kind of have to pay out of pocket, which they have other means, other programs, but like if Dentacoin could work as a tokenization factor within that niche of the market, to where you no longer have to abide by third-party insurance, and so no more do you have a dental office that doesn't accept out of network or has to stay in this little niche. Like, you can actually embrace and utilize the blockchain full force to how it can be utilized.
Why isn't Greg here or Lisa?
Greg's got some personal things he's dealing with, I think, today.
Yeah,
I would like to, since Greg's not here, I'd like to ask you guys why you haven't liked the video on World Blockchain Roundtable on Dragon Chain where it's playing. No one's liked the video except for me twice.
I just liked it on my phone.
Thank you. Well, like Greg would say, that's an experiment I just did.
Yeah.
Transparency. I made everything transparent. Now all of a sudden it's everyone's being nice, and yep, I'm a good person. I liked it. Transparency, man. Right. There you go, Greg.
Exactly.
I'd like to do
exactly. Everybody, experiment time. Go over to Dragon Chain and go hit the thumbs up
and share.
Or the thumb.
I actually share. So
don't forget to subscribe.
This is what Greg would do. That's perfect. You know, I did not get.
I need one. I need one now. I need one now with some retarded music that says everything is fake, gay, and retarded.
I need one that says anarchy now. I want to force anarchy on everybody.
And Andrew just needs one that says I'm bald.
What's George Costanza's dad? Anarchy now instead of serenity now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Serenity now instead of
the man on the tape wasn't too specific.
Yeah.
The man on the tape was two bears.
Oh, it was such a good show. They were horrible people, but it was funny for me. Some people didn't.
Horrible people are the best people.
I thought that was the genius of the last episode. It's like, you're going to prison. Why? Because you're terrible people.
Exactly.
It's like they find out that's the joke. You're terrible people. No, we're regular people. It's about nothing. You're bad.
You know, we should have created a Festivus coin.
I'm pretty sure there is. I think every year a new one comes out.
Feats of Strength is how it would be mined.
Right. I know I saw this Thanksgiving. I mentioned on that Thanksgiving episode there was a Thanksgiving coin that was launched on Thanksgiving, but it never went anywhere. Not investment advice.
Yeah, Festivus. All right. Well, I did refresh the screen but let me do it one more time because we have one more question here.
I also think that's one of the best things about blockchain is how it plays on our it's just like the experiment about liking the video. You were talking about no fees. I think that it's set up to encourage good behavior by rewarding it versus bad behavior, which is way more expensive and risky. Right. And it's just better to mine and to facilitate a good transaction and keep the blockchain healthy, and you get rewarded. It's a I mean, it's like I said, it's kind of using our own weaknesses to create something better.
True. Solid point. Question: does a smart contract embody St. Thomas Aquinas' justice? In other words, rendering to each his due with a constant and perpetual will. Who wants to go first on that one? Rendering to each his due. So a smart contract is supposed to do.
Well, I mean, it's supposed to be immutable. So I mean, as long as the conditions are met, I don't see why it wouldn't.
It's as long as it's in the code and it's done fairly, it's been audited, it's accurate, it's doing what it's supposed to do, doing what both parties agreed to it's supposed to do, and then it's executed by the smart contract, and one party actions are validated and the other party's actions are validated, hence payment or compensation is in transacted. And the third party in this case is the smart contract. The third party is not a government or an organization or another group of individuals or another individual. It's just a transaction where the smart contract is the third party.
I don't think the contract is a third party. I don't think it can be a third party. I think it's just a tool.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to define that the smart contract as the third party as code.
It's not. I was going to say it's the stick. Like if you do something wrong, this would happen. But it could be something different. It could be the carrot. It could be. It could literally just be the mechanism by which something happens.
Right.
It's such a tool that it's literally just a tool. It's almost like a widget or something, like one of those like fake words that you use because self-sealing stem bolt.
Novelty.
Novelty.
Basically, humans would have to, because like the contract is a tool. So like any type of contract's a tool. So in order to actually be able to use it as an enforcement mechanism, humans would have to articulate their own will with each other and learn to cooperate within that will for the common good of society, of community. The smart contract by itself is just that, just a tool to determine those parameters to help structuralize.
Right.
So if you have the wrong parties involved, there is a chance that you could still corrupt it. In my opinion, it's harder to do, though, with a smart contract on the blockchain because the blockchain's so transparent. I think it would be easier for humans to be able to kind of balance themselves and have that external equilibrium is how I like to call it, like to bring a balance of technological overshadowed tool into the human will of trying to figure out the moral identity surrounding how we live, do, act, love, and enforce justice on each other and with each other.
Enforce justice. Yeah. I going back to the third party and the contract being the third party, maybe I am calling it a third party, but in a different way. Think of it like a clearinghouse. If, let's say, Sean, you and I are doing a transaction and I tell you, I'm going to give you $5 USD and you're going to give me 500 pesos. All right. But we want a third party, and the third party is going to be Zach. So we both send our, currency to Zach, and then Zach validates that, yes, this is really $5 and this is really 500, pesos. And then he moves that money back to the party. So he's the third party. What we've done is we've eliminated Zach, or Zach says, I don't have time for this. So he writes the code, and he writes the code that once the money arrives to this clearinghouse from both parties, then it will release the money back. And if I sent $4 instead of $5, then the $4 comes back to me and the 500 pesos goes back to Sean, because it's a smart contract. It says, no, one party failed in their obligation rather than in being an individual. And that's what how I was trying to define it as a third party. It's code as
and I was talking even more basic, like if you send $4, Zach punches you in the face. And that smart contract is the punch in the face.
Right.
It's not an actual party. But it is, I guess, in that case, it's a third party for verification, and then it does the transaction, but you don't have, it's not really a peer-to-peer transaction then.
Right.
But I know if you send me $5, but then you have to send me the $5, I have to say, hey, there's $5, here's the pesos, So it's not trustless unless then you have to have that third party unless there's the smart contract.
Andrew, what do you have to say about this question?
Well, just respond to what you were saying. I was listening. I'm sorry, I had personal things
problem.
to take care of. I know historically that's what they spoke about with the Silk Road with Ross Ulbricht, is that he had a program in place that as long as both parties met, like you spoke about, and all the conditions were met, then the funds were released, and it was totally neutral. It was an escrow, is what they call it.
Right. Escrow, clearinghouse, either way you want to call it. Right?
Yeah.
Can I make another quick comment, and then I guess that finishes for today's questions, unless someone else has a question. This is more of a broader comment, and the power of blockchain and the power of eliminating third parties. It's huge, and a lot of people don't get it, don't understand it. That what blockchain can do for society, it can make us, like you said, enforce justice. It can be a means of exchange without a third party. In other words, if your government is corrupt, if your currency is corrupt, your fiat currency is corrupt, you have an alternative, and the alternative is actually a peer-to-peer transaction using blockchain. And depending on which blockchain you use, both parties can agree to that, and you don't have to interject or accept or have a requirement to have a government or a tax office or a taxing system in the middle of your transaction. That's what's beautiful. And if it's transparent and the blockchain's transparent, both parties can see that the transaction went through. If it's a smart contract that's put in, call it the smart contract is a vending machine, and you put in so much Ethereum or dollars or Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin or Digibyte or whatever. The transaction, the vending machine is your clearinghouse or your depositor where you're depositing, and it's validating your deposit. Then it's spitting out your compensation for that or whatever it was agreed to. And I think people forget that the power of blockchain is just that. It is a vastly superior technology, a parallel system that can really strip away that ugliness, the corruption that government and fiat currency brings to the table. It interjects itself and makes the market an unfree market. Blockchain has that power to bring about real change, a real parallel system. It should be widely adopted by those who don't like their fiat currency. That people should be demanding that they're paid in a cryptocurrency rather than a fiat, and a cryptocurrency that by its natural design should appreciate in value because of scarcity laws being in play, which is economic law. I think that's what people forget. And this whole theme that Zach put together for us today, it's because people are hungry for fairness, they're hungry for justice, they're hungry for transparency, they're hungry for legitimate, give me what is due. And if I paid a minimum wage, it should be over $200 an hour. My minimum wage is $7.25. Give me what is due. My minimum wage should be far more, like the warehouse that got burnt down. It wasn't just the greed of the corporation making billions and not paying their employees well. It's the entire system of the fiat being devalued over 1913. Blockchain can eliminate all that. Blockchain is a solution. And it frustrates me that we have strong, bright minds on this show that can provide solutions every week, and people are blind to it.
I got
soapbox.
I decided to have a little chat with Grok actually, and I put this third question in, and it pretty much answered, to sum it all up. It said no. Aquinas would probably not think that smart contracts could be a good use as is, because you have to put in the human equation in there. So it has to work perpetual with the human habit of the will towards justice. So then I continued and I said, so the tool, talking about the smart contract, would need to utilize through a factor that humans understand through agency of how one can cooperate with another human party. But by itself, a smart contract does nothing. It's still based upon humans' will to embrace mercy upon each other through justice. But if humans still think within their own pride, a smart contract could fall or only benefit one party. Though I do believe with a transparent blockchain, smart contracts could enforce more conscientious identity in relational economics. And this is what Grok says. Yes, this is precisely the Thomistic refinement that keeps your entire outline coherent and avoids overclaiming. You have articulated the key distinction better than most commentators on the topic. A smart contract is inert until animated by human agency. It is a deterministic tool of efficient causality, execution, and enforcement, but it depends entirely on the final causality supplied by rational, purposeful agents, the human mind, who choose to cooperate, interpret conditions prudently, and when necessary, temper strict right with mercy. It all comes down to justice and mercy.
And it's also written. They didn't make that. It's the contract itself is made by a human, but it has to be also agreed upon. Like we can have a transaction, and part of that, there can be different smart contracts where I only deal with someone, whereas if they try to screw me over on the transaction, they get a punch in the face or something, a penalty. Versus like William said, it just sends the money back, and it's just like, I want there to be, if you're going to deal with me, you're not going to try to screw me over. Something bad's going to happen. Whereas someone else might be like, hey, it doesn't happen, and you get like a bad reputation like score. There's different things that could happen to make it, consequences, but that's all agreed upon by humans. So everything's set up by humans, and then it's just a tool.
Yeah, solid point. Solid. I just, when Sean, you said that we just can't have anarchy. It's a kind of I'm putting words in your mouth, but pipe dream. But I think the anarchy movement is growing because they see the corruption in government, and they're looking for alternatives. They're looking for parallel systems to interact with, and blockchain was providing more of an opportunity to exit the system, exit fiat, and it got corrupted along the way. I should say the largest one, Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because why? Well, who knows? Maybe even it was created by the intelligence. We don't know who.
I know, and it pisses me off because Joe's right, and all the shithead assholes that you guys are, with the number go up, and I was like, hey man, it's part of the community, and that's what's making things grow, and you have to talk about that, and it has to be, dude. It ruined it.
Sean. I think
it's like we were played, and he gets to, it's just like everything else that's evil. It's little, not consolidations, where you give in, little compromises that, after a few, you're like, how the hell did I get here? It's like, hey, I'm going to work at the club, but I'm at the strip club, but I'm just a waitress, And then it's like, well, I mean, I'm already dressed like a stripper. I'm showing almost everything, and they make all the money. so I'm going to go ahead and strip. And then literally like 2 months later, they're turning tricks like the other ones are for dope. That's how it, if you go work at a strip club, most likely you're going to end up in a certain position. That's how it works. And that's how we were with Bitcoin. It was like, well, this, and if we can just get more, if the end will justify the means, and
Right.
it really doesn't.
Well, I don't know. Maybe Joe has always said that it's all about utility. It's all about, solving a problem with blockchain, finding a problem that blockchain fixes or solves, and then adoption. And it shouldn't be about the money,
That's it. But he does also say, and it's true, the money will take care of itself if you focus on the right things. Bitcoin would be, and that's the thing that John always said, Bitcoin will be $1 million unless math isn't real. And it's like when there's only so much, and when more people want it, it goes up. It's just how it works. So when you focus on, and then but that's where it gets gray, is when you focus on quote adoption, that's where you make the compromises, and we shouldn't have done it. It should take time. Anything that's worthwhile takes time. Any kind of shortcuts mess up what you're trying to do. You're trying to cook a good sauce. If you're doing anything you do, well, I can shorten it here. It's not going to be positive.
Right.
It's never going to be like, oh, it's better because you took less time. That doesn't happen. Oh, you made this furniture. It looks nicer. This one that you didn't take time to work on. It doesn't work that way, and that's where we need to focus on. And like, anarchy is going to be the way we go. Star Trek's going to be the way we go, but it's going to take tons of time. It's going to take a long time, and we have to be able to say, I'm not going to ever see it. But we don't ever want to do that, and we don't have even the ability to do that, which is probably ingrained in us so that we eventually get there. But once again, it's part of our nature that they can use against us. Because if we think, oh, it's not going to be my lifetime, then you're not going to work hard to make it happen. But if you think that and you have that hope, you'll work harder, and then it'll get handed off to the next generation. But if you just say, it's not going to happen in my lifetime, I'm not going to worry about it too much, then it's never going to happen.
That's my fear.
Andrew, you're going to say something first. Go ahead.
I say, there is the concept called tabula rasa, which means blank slate. And, we all experience certain types of stresses growing up, and that stress influences for the rest of our lives. It guides us subconsciously. So, some people say anarchy, other people say that it's not going to happen. In and of itself, it already has happened. It's just not in the context that we think of.
Zach, what were you going to say?
I had to find my key. The problem I have with anarchy, though, at this point is, what does it actually mean? Because when it comes down to it, anarchy is of the classification of no rulers, but what does no rulers actually entail? And I find it the fear that if we keep working for something that we don't know or truly understand, how are we to know that the anarchy or the lawlessness of chaos isn't going to unravel more lawlessness of the law? Because we are in a perpetual grade of chaotic anarchy, even with the structures of the law in our day and age. Like, our governments operate in anarchy.
That's the easiest.
They operate in fear.
To answer that. That's the easiest question, because, and that's a little bit of arrogance on most anarchists' part. Is that they're like, they think everyone else understands it with a basic, but explanation. But you have to understand, people have been programmed against this for their whole lives. They see chaos as anarchy, and it's not. It's actually the opposite.
Exactly.
It's an agreed upon group of laws, but then you don't have to really think about it anymore. Whereas so much of laws is enforcement in our minds. And with anarchy, it's just like the first step. It's like, hey, I'm not going to try to kill you or your family. I'm not going to try to kill you or your family. Okay, that's over. It's done. But how we live now, well, we have two guys over here. They're going to watch you. And if you do try to kill my family, they're going to kill you. And it's like, dude, we already agreed. I'm not going to kill you. Yeah, these guys are going to watch you. Why are they watching me? Why are they, it's so much of it is enforcement of a law, which is just, it's like, hey, it's agreed upon, it's done. And then you go about your life, and you don't have to worry about that.
Well, if you fully embrace the law, then at some point, the weight of the law becomes too much, and the entire system capitulates under the weight of the law. And if you diverge from the law, then at some point, the cost of trying to maintain the law becomes too much, and the system collapses.
No. You're talking about, like I said, you're talking about enforcement. You're talking about a bunch of stuff that is not part of anarchy.
Well, that's the difference. I'm talking about positive law versus negative law.
I was going to say, I think it boils down to the idea right here. What anarchy is being the sole proprietor of your mind and body, appealing to the rational minds of the world. In other words, I own myself. I lead myself. That's really what it comes down to. And respecting other people's property, the non-aggression principle. I have the right to defend myself if attacked, but I'm not going to be the attacker. I will be the defender, but I will not be the attacker. So,
so much.
There's a distinct. And then the second point I'd just like to say about the whole point of anarchy. Anarchy can be within the individual, but also a group of people or a community or someone who wants to segregate themselves from the punishment and the abuse of the abuser, i.e. governments, and i.e. devaluation of a currency, and wants to separate themselves from that system, even in the minute way of maybe even using cash instead of debit card, maybe not taking part in usury laws, maybe whatever it is, maybe starting to trade with their neighbor in a barter system. Counter economics, these kinds of small steps lead to the making government irrelevant and making it government irrelevant in more and more people's lives, and therefore less abusive. And I think that's where, in my lifetime, I will not see a full state of anarchy within, say, the boundaries of what we call today the United States. However,
let's bring some biblical theology in this.
I could set sail. I could, start planting those seeds for children and grandchildren to make that idea and that vision for the future. That's what I want to make.
In this that is like that. It's the bedrock for everything. And if you step back, it's like what has eroded and been attacked the most, I think, when you look at the big picture, it's respect. That's the biggest part of everything. That's the biggest part of anarchy, and it's the biggest part of what's wrong is just respect.
I think
if there was more of that in all parts of our existence, there would be so much less problems.
Which comes from love, right?
Yeah, it all comes from love. That's the whole purpose of the law. The fulfillment of the law is love. That combination of justice with mercy. I think St. Paul actually sums it up pretty good on what the purpose of the law is. This comes from Galatians 19 through 28. Why then the law? It was added because of transgressions till the offspring should come to whom the promise had been made, and it was ordained by angels through an intermediary. Now, an intermediary implies more than one, but God is one. Is it the law then against the promises of God? Certainly not. Not it, for if a law had been given which could make alive, then righteousness could indeed be by the law. But the scripture consigned all things to sin, that what was promised to faith in Jesus Christ might be given to those who believe. Now, before faith came, we were confined under the law, kept under restraint until faith should be revealed. So that law was our custodian until Christ came, that we might be justified by faith. But now that faith has come, we are no longer under a custodian. For in Christ Jesus, you are all sons of God through faith. For as many of you as were baptized in Christ have put on Christ. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither slave nor free. There is neither male nor female. For you are all one in Christ Jesus. And if you are Christ, then you are Abraham's offspring, heirs according to the promise.
It's all God's law. I think that's where it comes back down to, not laws made by man. Laws made by man, there is no law, because it's not, people are not held accountable. Laws aren't justly enforced. Laws aren't justly executed, implemented.
Well, I think that's where the issue is that there's obviously objective truth, and we're just trying to establish that within our own subjective, like, idiotic brains. Like we're so grounded that we, like, our meat brains, we can't understand the eternal, the essence of everything. Like, so we try to wean it down. So, like, what is objective in law, in the terms of the law, that is of the divine or the eternal natural law, we try to legalize it. We use terms of legalism to extrapolate what is law so that we can grab some sort of understanding, and it corrupts us to our own will, because then we forget what it all actually means, and then it becomes the letter of the law rather than what it all really just means, which is love.
True.
So
that's why on my X feed, I have a link to this posting, the Universal Declaration of the Individual, because it's, and I believe this right here. It says, I hold these truths to be self-evident. Sounds like, right? The Declaration of Independence, that all rational beings, and this is what we talked about at the very beginning, rational beings, right? That St. Thomas Aquinas and Aristotle said. Rational beings are created equal, whether endowed by nature or their creator, or you're a believer or non-believer, they're still equal. They possess free will. In other words, we possess free will. There's nothing argumentative, I would say, right now from a Christian perspective. The ability to conceptualize and actualize a preferred state, meaning I'm going to say capital S state, as in government. You know, we can conceptualize what is a fair state that we want to join and be a part of and interact with and be governed by. It is a choice that we have. That's part of our free will and the capacity for agency. Do I want to be part of this or not? And I have that capacity to make that decision. And self-determination. I can determine who I want to be a ruler over me or not. And reciprocity. In other words, if I do evil or do bad, the reciprocity or karma is, it will be enforced upon me, the judgment. Or if I do good, do well by others, respect others' property, non-aggression principle, reciprocity will be ensued. In other words, people will not transgress against my property because I'm not transgressing against theirs. That's what it really comes down to. This is really an embodiment of what anarchy is. Anarchy just doesn't mean that it's crazy chaos out there. No, there are first level principles that are adopted by an anarchist. such as myself. Non-aggression principle, and I respect others' property.
And it goes across the political spectrum too, like, the USSR and the United States. They both have, histories with both pride and shame. Pride has no boundaries. You see that with the sexual revolution, both in the United States and the USSR. Both have a history of abortion and stuff like that. But at the same time, both, really scolded their societies for different reasons, and really put each other down, and has a history of abuse to that, which causes consistent
right
endurance, I guess you'd say. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the word I was going to use.
No
Persistence.
Hold these truths to be self-evident. You see that meme I posted in the Telegram? Where it's George Washington.
Oh, yeah. They don't listen to me. Yeah, they don't listen to me either.
Yeah, it's like they don't even listen. Jesus is like, same, bro. Yeah.
I know.
Speaking of that, what do you think about the, Trump Jesus?
Oh, my gosh. How can it still support a Christian? I don't get that.
It's obviously it's pretty idolatrous. It's pretty blasphemous. But if you got to look at it through Trump's brain, because he's embedded in this meme culture and he's Mr. Tweeter in chief, you got to look at it. What was his meaning behind it? It was a joke, and he doesn't mean well with it because he's an asshole.
Well, that's the thing. He said, oh no, I'm a doctor.
I'm a doctor.
Yeah,
bro.
So,
and he said, that's why I'm wearing red and white. That's Red Cross colors.
Red Cross.
You like the Red Cross.
I don't think he actually understands the gravity of what he did and what he dropped. Because, I think he's a little senile. I also think he's just a narcissist. And he was just trying to do something
not a Christian.
No, he's never been a Christian. He can say he is.
It's a little of that, but I think it's more. And I think this is what people are starting to see, that he thinks so little of everyone else.
Yes.
I can say whatever. And he said that. He said, I could go shoot someone in the middle of Manhattan and I can get away with it. Because he used to be more open about it. But I think he really thinks, I could tell these people anything. And a large portion of them are going to be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Red and white.
Well, I mean, that's the function of how he thinks, is he's always trying to get people to like him, because that's just how he's wired. It says they love me. They'll love me. He's literally admitting it, because that's he's all about the novelty, all about the the magic and the show business.
Right. My issue is more with JD Vance and the defense of it. Realistically, the indefensible defense of it, where he pretty much just basically he kind of just like he deflected against it rather than stand. Hey, hold up, Mr. President.
That's because nobody can do that. No one can say, hey, man, that was kind of bad. It's that's enough. I mean, Maloney, there's so many people that literally 2-3 weeks ago, he was like, this is my best friend. I love this woman. I love this guy. And he's like, you know what? Never really liked that guy. He was a piece of shit. It's so you can't. And I think people are also seeing that you can't be anything but a lapdog. And that's it's just true. I'm not like not Trump derangement syndrome or coming down on the guy. But if there's any kind of pushback against him, you get crushed. You're excommunicated. You're totally pushed away. And that's becoming very evident with like Rubio and with Vance. It's even if something's bad, you don't have to say it's indefensible, but it's not like, that was a bad idea. I wouldn't have done that.
Tucker Carlson made some good points about it from a Christian perspective. The other point I didn't like Vance's take on the Pope either, even though I'm not Catholic. The Pope should remain in his side of the street, and the government should remain on its side of the street, and they shouldn't, interact with each other. Whoa! Time out. A moral society should be governed by a moral government. Our government should be one that acts and reacts to situations and protects us in a moral, methodology. That's not to say, Pope, you deal with matters of morality, and we in the government will deal with matters of the state. Shouldn't they be somewhat?
It's one of the things where it's like he's trying to use a gray area to make it blacker or whiter than it is. I don't think the Pope should say, hey, I think your tax rate should be this, or that's okay. But like moral stuff, it's like, I don't want you to have a war. I don't want people to die, which is what, like the words Trump ran on. Mm-hmm. I don't want people to die. I want people to stop dying. It was so basic. That's what I was behind, man. It's like no new wars. All that is kind of, but just a basic statement of, I want people in Ukraine and Russia to stop dying. They're dying every day. I want it to stop. Whether it's a ceasefire, the wars will be just as fast as we can to stop people from dying. Those were like his words. Mm-hmm. You can't not say that's good. That's right. Yes, I agree.
Well, what the Pope is doing right now is he's defending a doctrine of teaching of the church that's been around for at least 1,000 years. And what Vance is trying to do is trying to dismiss politely, I guess, but not really politely, but he's trying to dismiss by ignoring the teaching of what just war doctrine really means, because it says it, and then the catechism brings it about, and because based upon teaching that's been over 1,000 years. Within the church, and there are 4 points within the catechism of what it means for just war. The damage inflicted by the aggressor on a nation or community of nations must be lasting, grave, and certain. All other means of putting an end to it must have been shown to be impractical and ineffective. There must be serious prospects of success, meaning you must be able to, are you going to succeed in dismantling this evil? The use of arms must not produce evils and disorders graver than its evil to be eliminated. The power of modern means of destruction weighs very heavily in evaluating the condition. Those are the 4 major points of just war doctrine as the Catechism of the Catholic Church describes. And when we're talking about Iran, where is Iran, or even Russia with Ukraine with their little spat? Where is it where there's a just war idea embedded in what is going on with Iran right now? That's my question for you guys.
There's no justice in any of that. And killing by the state, there's not just there.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to ask y'all something that I've been thinking about this last week, because we're in a place where we've never been as a country. What we did to Iran, we really have never done. A preemptive strike. Yeah. That's not America. Was
Iraq a preemptive strike? Was Vietnam a preemptive strike?
No, because there was always little false flags, or you could say false flag, whatever. But that they were different. This is something that we have said. This was a preemptive strike. We've never said that. So we're in this legal. And this is the thing. This legal place. Those people, like the bad guys who go and do preemptive strikes or invade someone or do that. There's a war. They have to pay reparations. They have to rebuild the country. We've helped with that, and we've done that, even though we technically really could have got out of it. But so if we, and this is what I was thinking, is when he destroys their infrastructure and everything, if that had taken any shape, aren't we going to have to pay to fix their country after it's done?
You would think.
Well, I think
Go ahead.
I think he's kind of working stiff, as they would say in wrestling. You know, he's trying to push buttons, try to get people moving, kind of like what we did with World War II in Japan, as we were trying to get them to budge to attack us. We're trying to get people's goat so that they can justify further intervention.
But my point, I want to know, like, what do we have to? Are we going to have to fix the country that we've destroyed? We've never been in this position, really.
That's why I say we. I think you got to define we. I don't want my dollars going to protecting pedophiles or using my dollars paying pedophiles to traffic children or whatever. You know, I don't want my money, our dollars, you know, tax dollars. April 15th was just yesterday.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a check for me.
Except for in Tennessee.
Well, it doesn't.
They got an extension.
My point being is that, you know, we're paying for a corrupt government. We're not even paying for a government. We're paying to a cartel mafia regime that people call a government. And but we have the force of guns in our face if we don't pay, or getting caged if we don't pay. It's frustrating. Yes, Sean, we're probably going to end up paying for all the damage in Iran, and it's going to be in the form of hidden tax, which is called inflation. The cost of this war, or this initiated attack by us, is going to rear its ugly, ugly head in inflation even after Trump is gone. I think we're going to see the inflation hit next year. Who knows if he wins the midterms and gets, impeached, and Vance becomes president. We're going to be seeing some really, really ugly inflation, economic times ahead, lack of new jobs creation, bad economy because of AI and automation, a forced push towards a UBI, and it's going to get ugly.
It's going to get ugly.
We're going to have
I will say,
even though we don't want to, and it's going to be in the form of inflation, that's where people better watch. We got a solution right here, blockchain.
I will give kudos where kudos is deserved, even though the Fed needs to collapse. That was right on the mark. I don't know. That was right on the mark. But once again, Jerome Powell is standing firm on not raising interest rates. And I guess it's in the headlines again. Who cares? But at the same time, it's actually, for the first time, it's good that he's not, because if he lowers it, then that just opens the door for even more exponential spending, and that's even worse than what we're spending already with how the interest rates are. So at least he's standing his ground on not lowering it. It's inevitable that once his term ends and Trump gets his guy in, it's going down probably into the negatives. Part of the shit show. It's I guess there's so much to say about in the whole current events thing. I anti-war. I'm so much more anti-war and more now than ever before. And I don't think that protesting on the streets going to really change anything, because they don't listen to us anyway in DC, and they don't listen to us at the state capitol either. And they don't listen to many of us at the city level or a county level, because we say no data centers, but they do it anyway. Until people start really rising up and saying, I'm not represented, they do not listen to my voice, my will is not being, met or moved forward from a government perspective, we need to dethrone the government for various ways. Zach's got his cross waving here, his rosary, pray for the collapse. Is that what you want? I don't know. No, I think I agree with you on that. I don't think protests do nothing. I mean, honestly, it comes to the point where there's two things, because we're in spiritual war and it's manifested physically. So there's two things that we need to do. You can either go overt and fight back, and a lot of people are going to die. Or we all need to cohesively understand that we are more than just this plane of material existence. And this is why I'm bringing out this sword right here. This is a sword. Like, we are
you
at
guys know
spiritual
what
war.
there's people listening and not watching. What are you holding up? What are you holding up?
I'm holding up a rosary.
I don't know, man. I
warfare.
disagree, dude. You're using a euphemism. A sword is a sword. A sword is a sword. Violence is violence, and people die, and a lot of people die, and that's throughout history.
Yeah,
that's what
a lot of people do.
That's what fixes it. That's what fixes things. That's what changes things. That's why our country was made
temporarily
because of swords, guns, and death. That's what it took, and that's what it always takes.
Right.
And I forget who said it, but it was like, let them talk, let them protest, let them get it out of their system. Doesn't matter. They're just words. If they're not trying to kill us, keep doing what we're doing. And
I would prefer.
It's the way. I mean, that's how it is.
Yeah.
I would prefer to get I would prefer to get a congregation of people together, and I think it's better. In my opinion, it's better and more profound rather than protest to get together and pray a rosary and keep going to the same place and praying a rosary, like in front of your secular courthouse. That is literally the showcase of where secular liberalism has taken us, sadly.
We're at the point where a woman was arrested for praying silently in her head in Britain.
I know.
Hey, and you know what? I pray for her, and I it hurts. But you know what? When you're showing the trueness in your faith, we have to understand. I mean, the early Christians, they were crucified, they were burned, they were hanged, they were beaten, they were fed to the lions on public display. I mean, in mass. It's so, by all means, like it's coming to that again.
It is already here, Zach. We're watching it in full display. Yeah. Look at Lebanon.
I was talking to my son the other day, and
we can't feel
how the Trump Jesus thing. I said it was weird, and this is weird, and that's weird. I said, but isn't it weird how like it's biblical? I was like, there's always been weird stuff, but this is like biblical weird stuff. You know, it's like this is weird. But it's like it's odd that it's so specific. You know, I mean, there literally was Iran burned the ball statue and said it's Israel, and then people were online. It was like a meme. Iran just burned ball and said it was Israel. Now let's see what happens. And it was within a week that the war started. It's so in your face, the spirituality stuff of it. It's not subtle, or you have to look for comms and science. It's just right there.
First of all, I'd say that all the wars and everything you used to say, they're bankers' wars, right? And the banks or the Zionists, whichever you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, would fund both sides to create that chaos and more control of the individuals and that fight. And the banker wars, I'm going to argue, I've kind of changed my mind on that. It's government wars. And people don't want to fight these wars. It's governments versus government. And they send our young to go fight for them. The solution really is no government equals no war. It's not central banks. No central banks equals no war. It's no government equals no war. Government gave and handed over those powers to the central banks, so the central bank took it over. And then the Intel superstate, it was included with the military-industrial complex, the intelligence agencies.
The banks are the third party. They're the facilitators, but they're not the smart contracts. They're the tool.
Yeah. So you want to dethrone the government. You want to take the power away from them. Don't give them your energy. Don't give them dollars. Start separating yourself from their system and help support parallel systems. Vote with your wallet every day. Voting isn't going to work. And let me tell you the last thing. They want a civil war. They don't want a revolution. But a kinetic revolution, I don't think will win, because they got all the power with the drone technology, the tanks, the jets, and everything else, weapons that we don't even want to think of. Like,
that is a scary thing that nobody talks about, and I think maybe someone should, because that's always been the counterweight.
We could revolt. We could have a revolution.
The military won't, because the military is made up of the people. Yeah. But if it's robots, and it's like I said, there could be literally like 3 or 4 people could go to war with the country.
Is an 18, 19-year-old whose frontal cortex hasn't even, completed its development, the government or the lieutenant or major or commander or general tells them, turn your gun on a U.S. citizen? Are they going to do it? Of course they're going to do it. They're just like a drone.
You can look at what happened in Louisiana after the hurricane.
Oh, yeah.
And it is shocking. They disarmed Americans. They took all their weapons. They rounded them up. They did so much bad stuff. And that was their own citizens. It wasn't just Americans. It was their own National Guard.
Their own new,
And COVID disarmed us too. COVID disarmed us too. Lock up, stay in place.
Mm-hmm. Look what happened at
closing churches.
Look what happened after Boston Marathon bombing. I mean, they went door to door. They didn't have any warrants. They were just busting in people's houses and searching door to door for this guy. And they had stuff up in the sky looking through X-rays and stuff like that. You have no rights. Right. You have temporary peace.
Sean, you brought up World War I when they used they used to, jail people for speaking ill of the government, getting involved in World War I.
Well, not only that, but World War I, they were jailing people for just being German. Same with World War II. If you were,
common ingredient
with the Japanese.
Common ingredient, government. Common ingredient. Yeah, Japanese getting locked up in.
I remember saying this to my kids years and years ago, like when they were real young and the political correctness stuff was starting before woke, but it was because it was the military was starting to be real strict on racism. And I was like, oh, I wonder how the next war, this is a long time ago. This is when no wars, no nothing. I was like, I wonder what they're going to do in the next war, because I learned so much about like racism when I was a little kid from like Gomer Pyle. And like, I'm like, what is he talking about? And my mom was like, oh, they're at war. So they have to, basically, we don't want to kill each other. Humans don't want to kill humans. So the only way that we've killed humans en masse over history is to hate for like racism or what racism really wasn't a thing, but the hatred for someone or to devalue them, even if it's like they're not quite human, but they're not animals, but they're not quite human. That's how like the Indians, ethnic cleansing, all that is. They're much smarter than like monkeys and things like that, but they're not quite like us. And that's the only way that we can justify it or do it. So I was like, I wonder how the military is going to do the next war if they can't use racism as a tool, to have people do that. And it's
the controls with bread and circus, Sean, so they can get the military to do whatever they want.
Yeah,
they're already doing.
Is that people are starting to see it. Like, I don't know, James Woods, he posts more than Lisa. So it's hard. I tried to look, but he posted the Republicans have the presidency, the House, the Senate, everything. And yet no one's been arrested for the list. No one has done this. This hasn't done. We have fraud everywhere. It's obvious. They're all suck. And then
they're all pedophiles.
Republicans are the greatest ever. Democrats terrible. But he did.
Well, we need to wrap things up. I'd like to give everybody time to tell us what's new with you and where they can follow you. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you give a thumbs up, subscribe wherever you're watching this, and we appreciate all of you. Make sure everyone gets in there and votes for the themes when they come up. Right now we're at the theme posting scenario position, so post your themes that you want the panelists to talk about for the month of May.
Andrew, go like the video.
Yeah, Sean, we're going to start with you, go to Andrew, Zach, and finish off with me. Please be brief so we can finish under the 2-hour mark. Go ahead, Sean. What's new? Where can we follow you?
Follow me everywhere. It's Toshi Sean. Check out my YouTube channel. Me and Lisa are on Truth Tuesdays, which we have been doing on Tuesday. But we're going to record, I believe, this week because she's got some stuff, so it's not going to be live, most likely, unless we do some other time. I'd like to go on the Legacy Right, but you guys are being weird about when you're going on. I like get up early and fix stuff for family night, and then Zach's like, "Oh no, we're not doing it today." And then Saturday it's like early, and I don't make it, or something bad happens. But yeah, that's it. Check me out. Love y'all. Be good to each other.
Thanks, Sean. Andrew.
Hey guys, just heads up, Vic1.com YouTube channel seems to be back up, but always keep in mind the censorship is just around the corner. I mean, not trying to scaremonger anybody. I'm just saying it's just kind of a fact of the matter on the internet nowadays. So be careful and try to support the people that you really appreciate.
Zach.
Speaking of supporting us, really appreciate. Like and subscribe to this channel on Dragon Chain, Den.Social, Satoshi Sean, Litecoin Lisa, and come on over to the Legacy Right and do the same thing. Like this content today, and let us get this out here, because I think we have a lot of minds with a lot of solutions, and if we can just get the right message out to everybody, then maybe those solutions can turn into action. So join us on Saturday morning. I'm going to say morning. And then I promise, hopefully it goes back to normal onto our regular schedule Wednesday evenings. But Saturday morning, join us on the Legacy Right for the latest of the Silver Linings. And hopefully Sean will join.
Yeah. Cool. I'll watch cartoons Saturday morning.
Shout out to Free and Chris Townsend and Casey. I got to meet with them in person in Abilene, Texas this past Saturday. I drove up there for the Texas Libertarian Conference, and that was fun. It was enjoyable. Be sure and follow everyone that you see here on the screen. They're good people with good information, good insight. And I'm going to leave you with John McAfee, but I'm going to add one other thing. What the are you doing, people of the world, to allow psychopaths rule you?
America's not the government, people. The America is you. It is the Grand fucking Canyon, the Rocky Mountains, the deserts of the Southwest, the Pacific fucking Ocean, the Atlantic fucking Ocean. It is the grandest continent. And what the fuck have you people done? You have turned yourself into sheep, every goddamn one of you.